Remember when superhero movies were actually risky? Before the MCU machine cranked out guaranteed billion-dollar hits, Hollywood studios gambled big on comic book adaptations and lost spectacularly. But buried in this cape-covered graveyard are genuine masterpieces that audiences simply weren't ready for. Films with heart, style, and ambition that modern comic book factories wouldn't dare attempt. What if I told you some of these box office disasters are secretly better than half the Marvel movies you've watched? Let's unmask the forgotten gems. The Phantom, 1996. The Ghost Who Walks never really got running at the box office, but Billy Zane's purple-suited Avenger deserved so much better. Director Simon Wincer crafted a pitch-perfect pulp adventure that understood exactly what it wanted to be, Raiders of the Lost Ark with a superhero twist. The film bombed spectacularly, making just $17 million against its $45 million budget, but watch it today and you'll find yourself transported to a world where heroes were earnest, villains twirled mustaches, and nobody needed post-credit scenes to feel satisfied. "Every man with a bit of young in him knows about the Phantom," Zane proudly proclaimed during promotion, channeling the character's century-spanning legacy. Critics dismissed it as campy, but that was precisely the point. Treat Williams delivers an all-time villain performance as Xander Drax, chewing scenery with such delicious abandon that modern superhero antagonists look positively malnourished by comparison. The film's practical stunts, lush jungle settings, and Catherine Zeta-Jones's scene-stealing turn as the femme fatale Sala create a package that understands comic book joy better than any post-Nolan grimdark imitation. The Shadow, 1994. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? Apparently not 1994 audiences, as they skipped this atmospheric noir thriller starring Alec Baldwin as the mysterious vigilante. Universal Pictures threw everything at this one, a $40 million budget, Jerry Goldsmith composing the hypnotic score, groundbreaking visual effects to showcase the Shadow's mind-clouding powers, and even Tim Curry hamming it up as the villain's henchman. The result? A glorious Art Deco fever dream that bombed harder than its villain's atomic device. "The Shadow knows what darkness lies in the souls of moviegoers," joked Baldwin years later about the film's disastrous $32 million box office. But revisit this gorgeously rendered vision of 1930s New York, and you'll discover a superhero film with genuine mystique. Director Russell Mulcahy crafted a world where buildings loomed impossibly tall, where shadows literally came alive, and where Ian McKellen played a scientist decades before becoming Magneto or Gandalf. Its moody atmosphere and genuine commitment to pulp storytelling principles make it feel more like a unique artistic vision than a corporate product, something increasingly rare in the age of franchise conformity. The Rocketeer, 1991. Disney bet big on this jet-packed hero from the 1930s, hoping to launch a franchise that never ignited. Joe Johnston's loving homage to serial adventures follows stunt pilot Cliff Secord as he discovers a rocket pack that transforms him into a high-flying hero battling Nazi spies. Despite its pitch-perfect period setting, stellar cast including Jennifer Connelly and Timothy Dalton, and some of the most beautifully designed action sequences of the era, The Rocketeer crash-landed with just $46 million against its $40 million budget. "We wanted to create a world that felt both authentic to the period and like a comic book come to life," Johnston explained, achieving exactly that through meticulous production design and practical effects that still hold up today. The film's Art Deco aesthetics, thrilling aerial sequences, and Alan Arkin's scene-stealing performance as Mechanic Peavy create a complete package that modern superhero films could learn from. Its Americana-infused optimism about heroism feels refreshingly uncynical, while the Nazi villains provide actual stakes instead of generic CGI threats to the universe, a genuine Disney masterpiece that took decades to find its rightful audience. Mystery Men, 1999. Superhero parodies are everywhere now, but Mystery Men did it first and possibly best, bombing spectacularly in the process. This bizarre ensemble comedy featuring Ben Stiller, Janeane Garofalo, and William H. Macy as third-string heroes with questionable powers predates Deadpool's fourth wall breaking by 17 years. The Shoveler, Mr. Furious, and the Blue Raja might have the lamest abilities in comic book history, but they delivered the most prescient superhero satire ever made. We were doing The Boys before The Boys existed, Hank Azaria, who played Blue Raja, later reflected. The film's $33 million haul against a $68 million budget ensured no sequels, but its legacy is undeniable. Director Kinka Usher created a retro-futuristic champion city where corporate sponsorship and superhero celebrity culture reigned supreme, basically predicting the next 20 years of comic book movies. From Tom Waits as a mad inventor to Jeffrey Rush's delightfully hammy supervillain Casanova Frankenstein, the film assembled a cast that current franchises would kill for. Its practical sets and effects deliver a visual feast that feels more authentic than today's green screen extravaganzas. Darkman, 1990. Before Sam Raimi revolutionized superhero cinema with Spider-Man, he delivered this deranged original creation when studios wouldn't give him Batman or The Shadow. Liam Neeson stars as scientist Peyton Westlake, hideously burned and left for dead, who uses synthetic skin technology to become a vengeful shapeshifter. Made for just $16 million, this fever dream of a movie somehow exists between horror, noir, superhero, and exploitation film. A genre-blending masterpiece that studios would never greenlight today. They said, make it scary but not too scary, violent but not too violent, so naturally I ignored them completely, Raimi later admitted about his battles with Universal Pictures. The film's kinetic camera work, Danny Elfman's gothic score, and Neeson's unhinged performance create something wholly unique in the superhero canon. Darkman's synthetic face melting in the sun creates genuine body horror, while his tormented psychology explores trauma better than most serious comic book films. Despite modest success, $48 million worldwide, the film deserved to launch a major franchise instead of direct-to-video sequels. Darkman's declaration, "I'm everyone and no one, everywhere and nowhere," aptly describes the film's status as both influential blueprint and forgotten classic. Tank Girl, 1995. The post-apocalyptic punk feminist hero we deserved crashed and burned at the box office, but not before delivering one of the wildest comic adaptations ever made. Lori Petty stars as the titular Tank Girl, battling a corporate water monopoly in drought-ravaged Australia alongside kangaroo-human hybrids. Director Rachel Talalay's anarchic vision, complete with animated sequences, musical numbers, and Ice-T as a mutant kangaroo, proved too weird for 1995 audiences, earning just $4 million against its $25 million budget. "I wanted it to be dangerous and funny and sexy and weird," Talalay explained, goals she absolutely achieved despite studio interference that cut nearly 40 minutes of footage. The film's Riot Grrrl soundtrack featuring Björk, Hole, and L7 created a perfect accompaniment to Tank Girl's anti-authoritarian chaos. Critics were merciless, with the Washington Post calling it a Looney Tune with an attitude, but that's precisely why it's brilliant. In an era of increasingly homogenized superhero formulas, Tank Girl's middle finger to convention approach feels revolutionary. Its unapologetic feminism and sexual politics would still prove challenging to studios today, making it both a cinematic time capsule and a path not taken for comic book adaptations. The Crow, 1994. Though it achieved cult status, The Crow's troubled production and tragic circumstances overshadow what remains one of the most visually distinctive and emotionally resonant superhero films ever made. Brandon Lee's final performance as murdered rock musician Eric Draven, who returns from the grave to avenge his fiancée's death, carries a haunting power that transcends its comic book origins. Director Alex Proyas created a rain-soaked gothic nightmare that influenced everything from The Matrix to The Dark Knight. It wasn't just another action movie, Proyas reflected years later. It was a love story. The film's striking black and white with splashes of color aesthetic and industrial soundtrack featuring Nine Inch Nails and The Cure created an atmosphere that captured the goth zeitgeist of the 90s. Despite making $94 million worldwide against a $23 million budget, the film's success remains bittersweet due to Lee's accidental death during filming. The Crow's melancholy meditation on grief and its expressionist visuals represented a road superhero films could have taken toward artistic expression rather than franchise building. Its infamous line, "It can't rain all the time," carries an ironic poignancy considering how rare its authentic emotional core feels in today's comic book landscape. Spawn, 1997. Love it or hate it, Todd McFarlane's demonic anti-hero blazed onto screens with unprecedented style and spectacle, only to be critically crucified. Michael Jai White made history as the first African-American to play a major comic book superhero, battling John Leguizamo's genuinely unsettling clown Violator in a special effects extravaganza that pushed the boundaries of what was technically possible. Director Mark A.Z. Dipe, a former ILM visual effects supervisor, created hell sequences that still impress today. "We were trying to do things that nobody had done before," McFarlane proudly stated, even as critics savaged the film's thin plot and uneven tone. The movie actually turned a profit $87 million worldwide against a $40 million budget, but its mixed reception killed sequel hopes. What's fascinating revisiting Spawn today is seeing its DNA in everything that followed. Its cape physics influenced The Matrix. Its comic-accurate costume predated the MCU's faithful adaptations, and its R-rated superhero violence paved the way for Deadpool and Logan. The film's practical makeup effects for Violator remain genuinely disturbing, while its multicultural cast showed diversity decades before it became a Hollywood priority. Flawed but visionary, Spawn deserves recognition as a pioneering superhero spectacle. Judge Dredd, 1995. I am the law. Sylvester Stallone's infamous proclamation became a punchline, but this dystopian comic adaptation deserves a serious reassessment. The film's detailed realization of Megacity 1, with its massive 200-story blocks and bizarre futuristic fashion, creates a fully realized world that rivals Blade Runner for dystopian world-building. Director Danny Cannon and production designer Nigel Phelps constructed massive practical sets that dwarfed today's green screen shortcuts, while legendary costume designer Gianni Versace contributed to the film's distinctive look. "We wanted to create the most detailed comic book world ever put on film," Cannon explained, a goal the production achieved despite studio interference that watered down the ultra-violence and forced Stallone to remove his helmet. Critics demolished the film, which earned just $113 million against its massive $90 million budget, effectively killing the franchise until 2012's Dredd. Yet revisit it today, and you'll find a retro-futuristic vision bursting with imagination. From the ABC robot's terrifying design to the cursed Earth sequences featuring Max von Sydow and Jürgen Prochnow, the film's satire on authoritarianism and justice feels increasingly relevant, while its mixture of miniatures, practical effects, and early CGI creates a tangible futuristic world that many modern superhero films lack. Barbed Wire, 1996. Before Wonder Woman broke the glass ceiling, Pamela Anderson's bounty hunter tried smashing through it with steel-toed boots and failed spectacularly. This post-apocalyptic adaptation of the Dark Horse comic reimagines Casablanca with Anderson as the nightclub owner in a fascist American future. Made for $9 million and earning just $3.8 million domestically, the film was savaged by critics and buried by audiences. But beneath its exploitative marketing lies a genuinely subversive superhero story with a strong female protagonist. "Everyone focused on the obvious aspects," Anderson later lamented, referring to the film's notorious marketing that emphasized her physique over the story's political commentary. Director David Hogan created a dystopian vision of 2017, America engaged in a second civil war, with themes about government overreach and personal freedom that feel eerily prescient. Temuera Morrison, Jack Noseworthy, and Udo Kier provide solid supporting performances in a film whose biggest crime was being marketed solely on Anderson's star power. Its famous line, "Don't call me babe," was meant to establish Barb as a feminist icon, but the film's mixed messages and exploitative promotional campaign undermined its potential. Still, as an artifact of 90s comic book adaptations attempting to create strong female protagonists, it deserves recognition as a flawed but fascinating entry. Steel, 1997. Shaquille O'Neal's infamous superhero vehicle has been a punchline for decades, but its earnest attempt to bring diversity to the superhero landscape deserves recognition. Based on the Superman spin-off character John Henry Irons, Steel follows a military engineer who builds a metal suit to fight against weapons he helped create. Made for a modest $16 million, the film earned a catastrophic $1.7 million, making it one of the biggest superhero bombs of all time. "I wanted to be a positive role model," Shaq explained about taking the role, highlighting the film's admirable attempt to create a black superhero at a time when representation was nearly non-existent in the genre. Director Kenneth Johnson's previous work on the Incredible Hulk TV series informed the film's practical approach to superheroics, with Steel's powers coming from technology rather than the supernatural. Judd Nelson's hammy arms dealer provides a suitable villain, while Annabeth Gish and Richard Roundtree add acting credibility to the proceedings. Despite its technical limitations and rushed production, reportedly completed in just 30 days, Steel's focus on community protection over world-saving spectacle feels refreshingly grounded compared to today's universe-threatening stakes. Its heart was in the right place, even if its execution couldn't match its ambitions. The Meteor Man, 1993. Robert Townsend's criminally underrated superhero comedy represents something genuinely unique. A black filmmaker creating an original black superhero specifically addressing inner-city issues. Townsend stars as a mild-mannered teacher who gains powers from a meteor and uses them to clean up his neighborhood, battling local gangs rather than alien invaders. Made for $30 million and earning just $8 million, the film was a commercial failure but remains a culturally significant milestone. "I wanted to make a superhero movie for the hood," Townsend explained, crafting a film that balances comedy with genuine social commentary about community empowerment. The star-studded cast includes James Earl Jones, Bill Cosby, Eddie Griffin, and Don Cheadle, alongside cameos from Luther Vandross and Sinbad. The Meteor Man's powers, including the ability to absorb knowledge from books and communicate with dogs, are refreshingly unique, while his focus on neighborhood problems rather than world-ending threats creates relatable stakes. Roger Ebert recognized its significance, writing, "Townsend has made a film with a good heart and good intentions, though mainstream audiences largely ignored it." As an early example of superhero diversification and community-focused heroism, The Meteor Man deserves celebration as a pioneering vision. Captain America, 1990. Before Chris Evans embodied the Star-Spangled Avenger, Matt Salinger donned a rubber-eared costume in this notoriously troubled production that was so bad it went straight to video. Originally planned for theatrical release to coincide with the character's 50th anniversary, the film's $10 million budget proved woefully inadequate for its WO2 to present-day storyline. Director Albert Pyun battled constant production problems, including locations falling through and the budget being slashed multiple times. "We were making the film as we went along," Pyun admitted years later, explaining how scenes were constantly rewritten to accommodate changing locations and resources. Despite these challenges, the film contains fascinating elements. The Red Skull is reimagined as an Italian fascist. Captain America's famous shield actually gets used as more than a glorified frisbee, and the environmental terrorism plot feels ahead of its time. The film's practical car stunts and ambitious scope show what might have been with proper resources. While undeniably flawed, its earnest approach to the character contrasts with the calculated franchise building of modern adaptations. Its greatest achievement may be surviving to completion at all, given its troubled production, a testament to the scrappy determination that defined pre-MCU superhero filmmaking. Nick Fury, Agent of SHIELD, 1998. Long before Samuel L. Jackson took the role, David Hasselhoff portrayed Marvel's super spy in this forgotten TV movie that tried launching a series that never materialized. Written by David S. Goyer, this Cold War-inspired adventure pits Fury against Hydra and introduces many elements later adopted by the MCU, including life model decoys and the helicarrier concept. Made for about $6 million, the film aired once on Fox and was largely forgotten until the MCU renewed interest in the character. "I was the first Nick Fury," Hasselhoff proudly proclaimed years later, and to his credit, he captures the character's gruff, cigar-chomping attitude from the comics faithfully. Director Rod Hardy creates a surprisingly coherent spy thriller despite the limited budget, with Lisa Rinna as Contessa Valentina and Sandra Hess as Viper providing capable supporting performances. The film's practical explosions and fight sequences have a charming retro quality, while its Cold War paranoia feels authentic to the comic's espionage roots. Though it lacks the slick production values of modern Marvel productions, its straightforward approach to the material delivers more genuine espionage thrills than some of the character's big-screen appearances. As Fury himself might say, "Sometimes the old ways still work best." Fantastic Four, 1994. The most infamous unreleased superhero film ever made, this ultra-low-budget adaptation was produced solely to retain film rights, never intended for actual release. Producer Bernd Eichinger needed to make a Fantastic Four film before his option expired, so he commissioned Roger Corman to produce a $1 million version with no intention of distributing it. The cast and crew, unaware of this deception, created a sincerely enthusiastic adaptation that was completed, given a trailer, and then permanently shelved. "We made that film for the fans," director Oli Sassone insisted years later, believing in the project despite its limitations. The finished film features surprisingly faithful costumes, practical effects for The Thing, and a genuine attempt to capture the family dynamic of Marvel's first family. Cast members Alex Hyde White, Jay Underwood, Rebecca Staub, and Michael Bailey Smith gave earnest performances, only to have their work deliberately buried. Stan Lee allegedly helped suppress the film, calling it an embarrassment, but bootleg copies circulated at conventions for years. Despite its technical limitations, the film contains more heart and comic book authenticity than many big-budget productions. Its troubled history became the subject of the documentary Doomed, cementing its status as the ultimate superhero curiosity. So, which of these forgotten flops deserves a modern reboot? Was Tank Girl actually ahead of its time? Could the Phantom work with today's technology? Drop your hot takes in the comments below. And here's a question that'll start a war in the replies. Are we actually worse off now that superhero movies are guaranteed moneymakers instead of risky passion projects? Because I'll take the wild creativity of a 90s flop over the algorithm-approved sameness of today's billion-dollar hits any day of the week.